Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. As we're getting started, for those of you who have not joined us, even if you have joined us before, this is the drill right here. Do us a huge favor. Jump in the comments. Tell us hello. Tell us where you're joining us from, what you're excited about, what you feel life and momentum on. Also, do us another huge favor. In order for us to tell Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job, like this post, comment, share it, all of those things. If you guys are wondering about algorithms on social media, I'll just give you a hint. It measures engagement. And so watching this is always important. Even watching the replay later is important. But if you're finding these Mentor Mondays are helpful or inspirational to you, do us a huge favor and like it, comment, and share it. That way those platforms know. And you know what they'll do? They'll make it show up on people's feeds, especially if they're already following us. So let me say hello to a few people who are already saying hello to us. Here is Paul, who is joining us from Texas. How's it going, Paul? Kathy is joining us from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Angie's joining us from Chicago. Hope everyone is doing well. Yes, we are doing well over here for sure. Sean and Dina joining us from Texas. So Texas is definitely represented. If you're living in another state besides Texas, make sure that you post so that Texas isn't taking us over tonight. Cherish is joining us from Virginia. Someone said something about, it's not my mic. Okay, good to know. Sandy's joining us from New Jersey. Miranda is joining us from Michigan. If you're just making it into the room, you are not too late. Jump into the comments really quick and tell us where you're joining us from. Share where you're joining us from, what you're excited about tonight. Maybe if you're getting wins already over the past week, that would be great. Also, like and share this. Both of those things tell Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job. So just jump in there and like it or love it. If you love it, whatever, go ahead and hit that over there and keep the comments coming in, because even after I start talking and sharing what we've got tonight, then I will always come back and say hello to all of you. So anyway, anybody else? Oh, there's Joan joining us from California. Hey, Joan. All right. Well, I guess we might as well just jump in then, shall we? Let me see if I can remove this really quickly. But again, make sure that you continue. Oh, there's Tish joining us from North Carolina. Wanted to hear about the business side of coaching. Cool. Well, tonight is going to, I got voice cracking and everything. We're still working on those vocals. Still rehabbing those things. I still don't quite sound like myself yet, but you know what? It's getting better all the time. Who else do I need to say hello? And Sean and Dina say that they are in the middle of watching our boot camp. Cool. Awesome. So what am I talking about tonight? Well, here's the thing. I was told that 10 was way too ambitious. As a matter of fact, after I started looking at the content, you know what we have to do tonight? We actually have to break it down. 5 this week, 5 next week. So just letting you know on the front end, because 10 was incredibly ambitious when I thought about the fact that, I'm going to try to make a comment on each one of these things. Well, that's probably going to put us at an hour. So what I'm going to try to do is keep us in that 30-minute range, whatever, as I'm sharing these things. But over the past 10 plus years and working and training coaches, and at this point, I've I'm going to try to get it out of here. I've been training coaches for over 10 years and helping coaches start their businesses. And one of the things that I've learned after all of these years is that a lot of people were exactly like me. And the interesting thing is that as I meet people and we work on things, some of the questions, some of the fears, some of the mistakes, all of those kinds of things, the same ones actually that I had when I came out of the gate, I found out are actually contagious amongst coaches. And so if I could go back to myself years ago when I began this thing, because I was like some coaches, that I went and got trained and certified, and I did not feel like ready at all, didn't know what to do. And what I did is I procrastinated for a little while. because there was a lot of stuff that I was wrestling with and everything else in terms of getting started. And okay, well, now I'm suddenly trained and certified. Do I really have anything to give? And, isn't there something else? Isn't there another step? All of these other kinds of things. And so there was a lot of procrastination. There was a lot of second guessing and all of those things. So in everything that I've ever tried to do for every one of you is really to address those things, to always give you guys components, give you, if I can close the gap in any kind of way, that's what I've always striven to do in all of these years of Life Coach Training Institute. What I'm going to be doing this week and next week is I want to talk to you about the 10 things that I wish I would have heard. Some of these things you're going to find are inspirational, philosophical, and I would say that next week is going to be specifically focused on some specific business kinds of things. But all of these things are, what I would say is that most of the gaps that coaches are dealing with when they start their career, if they have a failure to launch, if they're challenged on the front end, they're happening right up here. They're between the ears. And they're not really things that have anything to do with their training or a lack of skill or anything else, but they're things nonetheless that they're going to have to contend with. And so really what I want to do for the next 2 weeks, this week and next week, is to really, if I was going back to, hey, Paul, I don't want you to have to go through this pain. I don't want you to have to go through this difficulty. Can I make it easier? Can I shorten the gap? Can I shorten it by months? Can I shorten it by years between you starting and actually being successful? And really what I've done is I've kind of composed these things, some of them because I'm in an ongoing way I'm helping coaches with, but also, again, if I could get in a time machine and go back in time and have a conversation with myself, and I could shorten that time frame between getting trained and certified and being successful in launching a practice. These are some of the things that I would have said, and hopefully that I would listen to myself, because that's the other part of it, is that people actually have to listen to you. We're going to start with number 10. We're going to do it like a countdown, 10 to the other things, right? 10, number 10 is the least all the way up to the most important one, right? And where I'd really start is with this. First thing that I would say is, Paul, your passion, your knowledge, your life experience makes you more valid than how long you've actually been coaching. Because I hear a lot of coaches, they start out and, they're terrified of putting themselves out there, and they're terrified of charging a large sum for their services or anything else. And coaches, when they start out, they're wrestling around with, well, I just got trained and certified. How can I go from this to charging people this amount? And what am I going to say to people if they ask me, well, how long have you been doing this? How long? So what ends up playing out in the minds of a lot of coaches, if I start, somebody's going to question me on how long I've been doing this, and I'm not going to have any credibility, because I'm just going to have to tell them, well, I just got certified last week. I just got certified last month. And so I wrestled with this big time. I wrestled with the fact that, I haven't been doing this long, and now I'm going to go out and I'm going to work with these high-end people and charge high-end prices. What is giving me any kind of credibility? What's given me any kind of substance? What's given me any kind of validation, any kind of affirmation? Who's sanctioning this? Who's vouching for me? What is is this certificate? Does it mean anything? Because here's the crazy thing, is that I'm walking around with a certificate and nobody's asking me for it. And even if I showed it to someone, they don't know what that is. They don't know what this school is. They don't know what this professional organization is. That's the reality, is that no one's going to know. So where's your credibility going to come from? Where's this validation for who you are and charging the prices that you're charging and everything? Where's that going to come from? And I'll tell you where it comes from. It really comes from this. It comes from the things that you are most passionate about doing. The interesting thing for me, my background before I was doing coaching and everything else, if I go way back in time, I was doing a lot of things in higher education, and I was doing things in programming, and also helping people teach online and a lot of those things. And the funniest thing about it, and here's the funny thing about technology. Technology, you know what? If you can do it and it works and you get results, for the most part, that's the thing that they are most interested in and they're most excited about. Does this work? Can you make this work? Can you solve my problems or whatever? And it's funny that we're still trying to grab at things uh, to try to validate who we are and everything else. But there's certain areas of life that we recognize the fact that, you know what, passion really matters there. You know what, your previous knowledge, because here's the thing, your knowledge before you became a coach, or if you're trying to become a coach right now, you're completing your certification, or you just did. Listen, we don't nix that knowledge, right? It's not over with. That knowledge still exists in you. You know that we didn't just like dismiss that knowledge. Oh, and I'm just reminded of something like really quick. If you can give me like 2 seconds, I got to send a really quick message because you know what we didn't do? I am just reminded that we did not send the reminder. So can you bear with me for 5 seconds? Because I just remembered something. We did not send a reminder email to anyone. So you know what? It's because I still make mistakes after all of this time. So here's what I'm going to do with you guys live on here, because I'm just reminded that we didn't. I'm going to send it right now while you're on here. Join me now. See, that's what happens when you come off of an Easter break, and I don't have anybody to blame but me, because everybody's still on vacation except for me. And so things like that happen. So you know what we do? We fix it just like that while everybody's just live on there. You know what? You know why? Because, well, we make mistakes, and that's what happens. All right. Well, that's out there. So we'll just see for the people who didn't get the message a little bit earlier, then they'll get it now. Cool. Well, that just shows you I can remember things and be on the spot while at the same time I'm talking about stuff. Also on this thing about knowledge. Why? Because that just cued me on something. Your passion, your knowledge does not get dismissed, and it doesn't get stuck in the back room somewhere where you're never going to use it ever again. You realize that all of your learnings your entire life, where you went to school, you've been through training, you've done your own development, you've done your own personal development on yourself, you've done your own professional development, and all of those other things. You realize that all of this knowledge that you bring to the table is something that you still possess to this day. And you know what you'll find is that you're still going to be tapping into that knowledge. You're still going to be tapping in to all of that passion and all of that knowledge and all of those learnings. You know what else you're going to be tapping into? You're going to be tapping into life experience. You know why? Because a lot of the knowledge that you have in your possession right now is stuff that, well, this experience that you have gone through your entire life, your development and everything else, most people did not say, well, you need to go out and develop this in yourself. You need to go fix this in your life. You need to get rid of the ceiling that's going on in your life. You know what you did? We also do this thing in our coaching product launch blueprint, where I'll have our coaches go through this tool to just brainstorm their life. Like, this is who you are, because this is what you'll find. Most of your clients were probably where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. But there was at some point in your life that you killed that giant that has been haunting you, that has been harassing you, that's been keeping you down. And you know what you've probably found? You probably found something that you went through, some kind of a learning, some kind of a tool, some kind of an assessment that got you on your way, and at least it got you started. So your breakthrough probably did not happen when you were just sitting alone one day looking up in the stars, or sitting in your backyard or whatever. I mean, that could have happened. But all of us, you know what we did? We went on a journey. We went after transformation in our life. And here's what's true, is that thing that you went after has now become your possession. And not only your possession, but it's still a tool in your tool belt. It's still a weapon. Now, it doesn't mean that you're always wielding it, because sometimes when truth becomes your possession, see, it's the truth that sets you free that now becomes your possession. See, truth doesn't really matter unless it's a truth that has set you free. So what does it become? It becomes a tool in your tool belt. It becomes a key. It becomes a weapon that you carry. But you know what? You walk now in that truth. And now when you walk in that truth, you're not sitting around thinking of it like, well, I need to pull out this weapon all the time. I need to pull out this key all the time. It's just, it's part of you. It's the way that you function now because it's your possession. What's going to be true for all of you is that you're going to be working with people that have not, they've never even heard this truth, much less that truth does not become your possession the day that you hear it. The day it becomes your possession is when it actually frees you from wherever you were before. So this is what you bring to the table. Listen, it's not about how long you've been coaching. I'll go as far as to say this. This certificate doesn't validate you nearly as much as your life of pursuing after this thing that brings you to this point in your life, where now the truth that has set you free is now going to become the truth that sets other people free, because now you hold the key. Now you have the tool. Now you have the weapon. You know, I want all of you to know, as much as I believe in the training that we do and believe in coach training and everything else, listen, this is not your goal, and this is not what validates you. This is a vehicle to get you to your destiny. It's not your destiny. Life Coach Training Institute, Paul Dabdoub, is not your destiny. We're on your journey. We're guides. We give you a vehicle. We help support you and everything else. But you've been long on your journey for a really long time. And you've been taking out giants. You've been slaying dragons. You've been doing all of this stuff up to now. And that's what actually makes you credible. You know what? Sometimes even your failures, even some of your struggles actually validate you right now for this moment. I mean, you can imagine how invalid I felt when I started, when it was just within a couple of years since me and my family had gone homeless, and I'm starting a coaching career right after that. You can imagine what that felt like when I didn't even own a car that was my primary vehicle, that I was driving a scooter and parking into the parking lot next door and coaching people who are driving Mercedes and stuff like that. You know, those things can eat on you. When you're looking for some other kind of source to validate you, or the experience trap that so many coaches get started with. How does anybody start? You know that you had no experience being a parent the first day that you became a parent? You had no experience in being a parent. You say, well, I kind of took care of my brothers and sisters. No, you were not a parent before the day that you were a parent. You weren't doing anything that you have done in your life before the first day that you did it, but you did it. And so you know what ends up happening is that experience up to that point served you. And what you did not know, you know what happened is that there was something that intuitively starts rising up in you. You would go and find the resources that you need if there was something that you were missing out on in terms of the information. But there was an intuitive sense that what you've experienced up to now could actually serve you really well, and you could do that really well. And this is what we're really talking about, because I see this thing stop coaches all the time. Let me show you a couple of other things. Let's go to number 9. Number 9 is that the people that you are most motivated to be with and the problems you love to solve are the keys to a job that you'll love. Which, when I started out as a coach, what I really wanted to try to do is, well, maybe I should just coach everybody. Maybe I should just be generalist. And the very first business card that I ever made, it just said coach on it. Like, I had no idea who it was that I wanted to work with, and I was just foggy on all of that. So you know what I did is I coached all comers. And you know what that meant for me? It meant that sometimes I was working with people that I was so like, dude, I do not want to work with this person. This person's killing me, you know? And then there's some people who are like, yes, I just feel fully alive. And here was a great indicator. If I worked with someone and I felt like they had sucked me dry, like it was a vampire that I was with, then that's a really good cue that this is not the kind of person that I should be working with. But if I walked away and I had more life after I walked away than what I brought to the table that day, then I knew that I was onto something. I started noticing these kinds of things. The other things that I noticed is that there were certain things that I loved just talking about in life, that I was intrigued about, that I was inspired about, that I wanted to learn more about, and that I'd also learned a lot about in the past. So what you find is that the people that you love to love, the people that, I mean, think about it. Who are the kinds of people that you like to hang out with? Who are the people that you don't want to hang out with? That's a really good cue, because here's the deal, is that when you work with clients as a business person, one of the easiest ways that I can make coaching not a job for you is just to say, hey, find the people that you're most passionate about helping and serving. Like, if you could choose those people, and you can, if you choose those people, you'll never work again another day of your life. It'll be like, man, I was hanging out with friends today that are talking about exciting kinds of things, and it just brings me to life. I mean, you can actually choose that, because all of you have worked jobs, and sometimes you were working on teams or with individuals, or you had bosses that you didn't really necessarily connect with, and you did your best and everything else, but it didn't bring you life. Or there were certain bosses that you're like, oh, my boss isn't here today. Now we're going to have the day's going to be very, very easy. Like, we're going to work really hard, but I'm not going to feel that tension. Or I don't have to work with so-and-so today, on this shift or whatever. Well, here's the thing, is that you get to think about that on the front end. This whole idea of choosing a niche, I believe it's the people that you're most passionate about being with. This is why it's important. It's also about the things that you're most passionate about, the things that you are interested in, the problems that are involved. Sometimes it's the giants that you took out years ago, the dragons that you've already slain. Sometimes it's connected with the knowledge from the past, the things that you have learned, the things that excite you, that no one has to talk you up into talking about it. Like, for me, I love business, and I love leadership, and I love structure and teams and all of these different kinds of things. And you know what? It only made sense that the more, and I started connecting the dots in, I was like, man, I would have saved myself a lot of trouble if I would have known on the front end what kinds of people that I seem to understand what makes them tick, and I'm excited about it, and I'm excited and looking forward to meeting with them, and excited about what is going on in their life. You deserve to work with people that you're excited about working with. And your potential clients, your ideal clients, your future clients deserve to have a coach that believes in them and loves them and really desires to be with them as well. You'll do your best work if you're working with the people that you're most passionate about. And you will also not only do your best work with the people, but when you're dealing with the kinds of problems that you're excited about hearing. Because let's face it, we're coaching people who have problems. If there's no problem, there's no reason for us to ever be hired. Problems are opportunities. They're not bad things. Anything that we look around in the world right now, man, if you can't find a problem, well, what are you going to do? What's going to motivate anybody to do something if they're not in some kind of painful or inconvenient state in their life? So you better choose rightly. Like, do your homework, know yourself. But if you could know this on the front end, then you could actually get traction in your coaching practice really, really quickly instead of wasting your time. Here's another thing. Number 8, stop doing things for free. And there's a lot of coaches who will start out doing things for free because they don't feel like valid yet. And they're starting out, well, I'm just starting out as a coach. I don't have a whole lot of confidence. So you know what they'll do? They'll just start doing things for free. Here's a free coaching session. I'm offering free coaching to these people and all this other stuff. Let me say this about free coaching really quickly. No one gets results from free coaching. I know some of you are like, well, if I could go out and coach these people and help them, and I just want to give myself away and everything else. Well, you need to be able to feed yourself. That's kind of a priority. Your priority to feed yourself and to feed your family is preeminent over everything else that we're doing. I understand that you want to help everybody and you want to help everybody in the world, but you need to make sure that you can actually feed yourself first. But here's the thing, is that free coaching never helps anyone. I've just found that too many times throughout my entire life. It never changes. If you don't have skin in the game, if you're not investing, if you're not feeling it in your wallet, the heart's connected to the wallet. I'm sorry, the heart's connected to the wallet. It just is. It's a spiritual principle. All transformation happens here, but it's connected to the wallet. So the people who have no skin in the game are not going to stay invested anyway. And you're going to be disappointed. And then it'll start messing with you. Well, these people aren't getting any change. I'm not helping anybody. So why would I go out here and offer my services and charge people if these people over here aren't getting results? Well, the reason why they're not getting results is they're not actually invested. And so this is the thing that I find is that coaches who do things for free, there's a greater problem that's going on. You know what that is? is that they don't value themselves. And the reality is that because they do not value themselves, they teach other people to devalue them as well. So that free coaching, that's why people will no show for free coaching. It's why people won't follow through for free coaching, because they don't value you. They don't value what you're bringing to the table. So that's why they can't get anything. It's because they don't see any value. Well, here's the thing. I understand it makes a lot of sense when you're starting out to do some practice things. And, sometimes you can have doors open to you because you go in and you serve somewhere. I know what that looks like. I did it in networking groups. I've seen people do it in nonprofits. I've seen them do in a lot of other kinds of in a lot of other kinds of places. But what we have to understand in this, and let me underline this important word that is not highlighted in here, and it's this word right here. It's this word right here called exchange. Because there needs to be an exchange. If you ever offer anything that's complimentary, anything that you do, any kind of free where you're going to come and you're going to bring some kind of a service, you need to make sure that there's an exchange between those things. At the very least, that I have an exchange for a testimonial if I'm going to do something free. That way, because listen, there's nothing free in coaching. Nothing free for you anyway, because it's your time and that's what you get paid for. So if you're out there giving yourself away for free and there's no even exchange playing out in that, then you're getting used. But what we can do is that it's like, hey, I'm practicing. What I want is to get some testimonials for my website. So let me ask you a favor. I'd love to give you do some coaching sessions with you. I won't charge you, but I'm going to ask two things out of you. I'm going to ask that you write me a testimonial, or even better, that you shoot me a little video testimonial that I can put on my website or on my social media of how you've benefited. And I also want to ask you for two people that could really benefit from this in a warm lead, not just name or whatever. Like, can you connect me with two people who could really benefit from this? It's an exchange because they're getting something of great value. So it only makes sense. Give people permission to help you in your business. You need to believe, and I haven't put this on here, but you need to believe that people actually want to help you in your business. Quit acting like you're a beggar and quit acting like you are in poverty, because you are not. You're bringing something to the table. You've been working on yourself for years. You've brought yourself to this place in your life, and it's because you made great choices to transform your life. Nobody made those choices for you. Now you're out here getting trained and certified, and you're working that much more to open the door for other people to get freedom. So expect that because you've been working on yourself and that you've been investing in yourself, that obviously people want to open the door for your business, and you give them permission and you give them a way to do it. And how do you do it? At the very least, you're going to ask people for testimonials. At the very least, you're going to ask people for referrals. And in any setting that you find yourself serving or whatever, you find yourself on the board of a nonprofit, you find yourself in a networking group or whatever, actually asking, give people tangible ways to be able to help you open up your business. Nothing you should be doing is for free and without an exchange. Somebody asks you on their podcast, great. Let's make sure that you talk about your business on there and that you have a call to action in that. Somebody asks you to write a blog for their website, make sure that you include a call to action. Somebody wants to do something on their social media with you, some kind of a partnership, make sure that there is an exchange that comes out of it. This is really important, because if somebody believes in your coaching enough, if somebody believes that you have something to offer and they're asking for something for free, then here's how we make an even exchange. Because what do we want is that we want whatever we're doing. Not that we're not truly trying to serve the world, but it should be opening the door to our business. It should be telling people what's the next step of how to work with us. And I wasted time with crap that was free stuff that didn't get me anywhere and didn't get me any traction. Save yourself the trouble. Don't assume, because here's the thing. If you assume, man, I've been out here doing all this free stuff and I really thought that something would come along, but nobody wants to pay for this thing, because this is the stories that some coaches will end up telling themselves and telling other people. Well, no one wants to pay for it. Well, you're obviously not working with your ideal client if they don't want to pay for it. You're dealing with people who don't want transformation in their life, because people always pay for what they want in their life. They always make purchases for things that they think are going to help them. But you're not doing yourself any favor if you're just running around hanging out with people who want something for nothing, and that you're also not giving them steps for how this can be an even exchange and be a win-win for both of you. Here's number 7. Number 7 is it's never going to be perfect. It is never going to be perfect. And some of you trying to start out and you're always trying to make everything perfect. You're trying to make every post perfect. You're sitting around using Grammarly and all kinds of tools. And what ends up happening is that you're always in a frenzy trying to fix things. I watched a coach. I remember this years ago. There was this coach that I knew had gotten trained and certified. And he was probably certified for like 6 months. And I ran into him and we're talking about some stuff. And I was like, well, how's your coaching practice going? He was like, well, I'm really, really close to, getting started. And I said, well, what have you been working on exactly? This dude had been working on a 30-page ebook. And that's the only thing that he had to show for like 6 months. 6 months. And he's still sitting there tweaking with grammar and commas and all of this other stuff. And it's like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, how much more perfect do you think that it could be? You're actually losing traction. You're actually losing momentum while you're sitting there. And all it was going to be was a free download on his website. It wasn't like it was something that he's trying to like sell or whatever. Listen, it's never going to be perfect. Perfection's a myth. Let me show you this really cool quote right here from the co-founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman. He says, if you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. Do you know how embarrassed I am from some of this stuff? Like, and the funny thing is for me is that I keep these things. I keep them as little tokens and reminders and stuff. You should have seen the graphics when we launched, before we launched. It was the pre-launch for Jumpstart Your Coaching Practice. And it looked horrible. The color scheme was bad. The design was bad or whatever. The content was mostly great, but a lot of the other kinds of things were really bad. Our first website, bad. Our first courseware, not that great. Lots of different things that we've done over the years were just not that great. And if you would have seen how we did some of the recording and some of those other things in the beginning days, you'd be feeling pretty good about yourself right now. You feel like, boy, I'm actually farther along than what Paul was. There wasn't Canva back then. There was a lot of other tools that were not easy to find. And I mean, like where you're sitting right now, like you can actually start out looking pretty great. But the reality is that it's never going to be perfect, but you've got to start. If you wait and wait, imagine if Apple waited, every 3 years you got a new iPhone. Well, all of the technology would be antiquated, wouldn't it? That quickly, they are irrelevant. They know to stay at the forefront that they've got to find out what do our clients want, what do our customers want, but they've also got to be saying, what do we want to create that we think is going to be the next important thing that they're going to need? See, this is the other part when it comes to working even with our clients, is it's both and. What are they asking for, and what do they think that they need? And what do I believe that I could actually put in place that is going to be just ahead that they are going to need in the future? And when you step into that place, see, if we already know everything, if it's already like put together and everything, and it's already out there, where it's already out there, right? Like we don't have anything really to offer. What we have to understand is that we're struggling with perfectionism. And I know like all the stuff that comes with it. You think that you're an imposter. You think that you're a fraud. You think that if they see a typo somewhere that they're gonna be like, oh, I'm not. Listen, I paused a second ago to send out an email because I made a mistake and didn't get an email out because I'm like the only one on off of an Easter break, and it's up to me to get things done or whatever. Hey. Because I'm going to work on a Monday night, even if nobody else is coming off of Easter, because you guys are still going to be here. So I'm willing to do that. But you know what that means? It means that I'm going to be absent-minded and I'm going to make mistakes with things that, I don't keep up with on a daily basis and I don't think about on a daily basis. You realize that when I look back in my history of all the emails that we've ever written, the ones that have the typos and the mistakes in them always get a better open rate than even the ones in the subject line. That you say something in the subject line that has a typo in it. We didn't edit that very well. We should have done some revision. We should have actually read it before we hit send. Listen, It humanizes us. There's nothing that's going to be perfect that's out there. Listen, people don't want perfect. 2020's taught everybody that some people are posing and some people are faking. We always kind of knew that, but people want the real. They want the raw. They want authenticity. And that's what they're really looking for from you. And you can't sit around waiting on something to be perfect before you start, because what you're going to end up doing is that you're going to sabotage yourself, because you've sat in, what you've done is that you've created inertia for so long, you feel like it's insurmountable and that you can never get traction ever again. You just have to start. You know what? For some of you, it might mean it's only 60% perfect, and that's as far as it's going to get. Like if you work on something and it takes for about a week or two, you haven't gotten much past 60% perfect in your own mind. Well, that's in your own mind, and that's as perfect as it's going to get. You need to get out there and get rolling. And you know what can happen is you get out there and you get rolling, and then you find out, well, that wasn't so perfect, or somebody gave me some feedback as something that I need to change or add or whatever. You know what you can do? You can always add it. I was talking to a coach just 2 months ago. She's working on this program. She's got tons of content and everything else. And she's sitting around. She can't stop getting more content. She can't stop reading more things. And, well, what if they ask about this? Or what if they have to ask about this? And I feel like I need to get some more training over here on this component or whatever. I was like, listen, you got to stop the madness. You remember that old commercial for weight loss? Stop the insanity. That's what they would say. Stop the insanity. It's insanity. I said, listen, here's what you need to do. You already know more than they're going to ask questions for. So you know what you do? You go forward with what you have. And don't even put as much content as you think. Let's boil it down. Can you boil what you have down to maybe 10 minutes of a video? And be okay with not trying to give everybody everything, because nobody's going to watch a 2-hour video. Give them a 10-minute video in your coaching course. And then if they ask questions because something's missing, you know what you can do? That's a great question. And you know what you can do? You can shoot a video and you can add it in as a bonus, because now you've just added value. You know what? I've got some great questions this week. I'm adding some bonus content about this particular item or whatever. I've done it in our Jumpstart program for the last, since we started in 2016. Jumpstart has every question that I have ever been asked in all these years as a coach, and the questions that you never even thought about asking. This is the way that we do it, because you got to get started. You can't wait for perfect, which leads me to this. Even bad coaching helps people. And I don't know anybody else who has ever said this, but it's something that I found great pride in over the years. And I found that it's been consistently true in all of these years. I've known some people through the years that were really, really bad coaches. Like there was a guy in San Diego, I'll leave him nameless. He said that he was going to do a big coaching event. And he got all these people to pay like hundreds of dollars for a Friday night and an all-day Saturday coaching event. And you know what? It wasn't a coaching event. He got up there and did motivational speaking the entire weekend, and did some kind of like little group things and asked some questions or whatever. But it was mostly him doing motivational speaking. And it was probably about 20% coaching, and it was 80% of him motivating and everything else. And those people were like, this changed my life. It was transformational. And I'm like sitting there like, dude, that guy did not even coach anybody in there. But you know what those people felt like? They felt invested in. They felt loved. They felt cared for. And in the parts that were coaching, they thought this was amazing because they had never experienced coaching before. Now, I think he could have done it a lot better, but it was just simply, he just wasn't a good coach. You know, he'd gotten trained and all this other stuff from some program or whatever, but he apparently relied more on his motivational speaking than he did on the coaching side of things. You know, if you get into a coaching session and you're accidentally talking 60, 70% of the time, and they're only talking 30% of the time, do you realize that even though you would say, man, I just didn't knock it out of the park, you're going to have clients who walk away in tears. They're going to feel so loved and full of so much hope, because right now, if you can go back in time and watch it, but I did a whole series on the life satisfaction crisis that we are living in this time, and that most people are feeling disconnected. Most people are never being listened to. They're not sharing their dreams with anyone. You wonder why depression's got on such a rise. You wonder why dementia and and Alzheimer's is so rampant right now. It's not just environmental factors. It's because people don't have purpose and they don't have connection. So you're going to see literally brain diseases that come as a result of these things. So when people are actually sitting with people, even if it's not done well. Now, I'm all about coaching being done well and done in excellence and everything else. Hear me out. I'm not saying that I don't want you to be good. What I am saying is that bad coaching even helps people, and you'll learn along the way as you put yourself out there. But listen, you're never going to learn if you're not willing to put yourself out there, even when you're not great. Which leads me to number 5. That means that you've got to set a deadline and start knowing that the inner critic and the self-sabotager in you are going to war with you all the way to the very end. Now, listen, when you're in the beginning stages of just learning about coaching and training, usually the inner critic and self-sabotager aren't doing anything. They'll let you be happy over there learning. Oh, yes. And now I'm going to go over here and watch Paul's next video. Oh, I'm going to go over here and watch Paul on Mentor Monday. Oh, he's got a little bonus training thing over here. I'm going to watch that too. And I'm going to take a crap load of notes. And now I'm going to read this book. And oh, I'm on Amazon. He talked about this resource. I'm going to get this too. And you know what? Self-sabotager and inner critic don't care anything. They don't give a flip about that. They will let you occupy yourself with as much reading and learning and training, and you know what? They'll even let you do idea generation. They'll let you sit around in think tanks. They'll let you join one of my group calls and talk about all your ideas and jot them down. And everybody like, oh, this is so great. And oh, this is going to be so cool. And watch little entertaining videos about this and maybe even make some videos and some posts and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what day is going to happen, but there's going to be a percentage of the way towards launching your coaching practice where inner critic and self-sabotager is going to arise. You wouldn't believe how much I could get done in training, in writing stuff, and website tweaks and everything else. Like inner critic and self-sabotager don't care about those things at all. But as soon as you get to that place where you need to take a step across that line, it is the line where you're going to put yourself out there. This is where you're going to find the line is. It's the line where you need to put yourself out there. It's a line where you need to launch that website. It's the line when you need to tell everybody what you're getting ready to do. It's the line where you're going to go live and you're going to do some things or whatever. Everybody's going to have a different line there, but it's a line that is kind of the point of no return. Look at this quote right here. It's an amazing quote I found on this. The last 10% it takes to launch something takes as much energy as the 90%. That first 90%, you know why? Because you're not having to deal with any kind of failure. Self-sabotager, self-critic, all of those other things that are going on in you, they're not even saying anything. They're kind of like, yeah, we'll let him read that. We'll let him watch that video. We'll let him go to training because he's not going to do anything with it. So we'll just let him just occupy, spin his wheels or whatever. The moment that you finally get to that place, because all the idea generation and the color schemes and the brand name and all of that fun stuff, you know what? You haven't convinced self-sabotager and self-critic anything. They're over here playing Uno or poker or whatever. They're not even paying any attention. Moment that you're just kind of like, okay, guys, it's the moment of truth. It's about time to go live with this website. All of a sudden, and it's that final 10% that you're going to have to fight to the death for. And I'm talking about the death of self-sabotage and the self-critic. That's a bloody battle. That is your final giant. That is your last dragon, is actually you. The things that you fought against in the past, sometimes they were personified in people and situations and circumstances. The one who wants to own you and keep you where you are right now is you. The old you who does not want to change and is like, oh, it's so uncertain over there. You never can tell. You may not be able to make it back from this one. If you do it, you need to stay where you are. And self-sabotage flies in and criticism flies in order to keep you where you are so that you wouldn't possibly see what life could look like on the other end. It might be too dangerous. It's probably too risky. You know what? You know what would make you feel better? Some more training over here. So you'll go to another training. Maybe you should do some more idea generation. Maybe you should go back and work on that ebook a little bit longer. And then, when you feel a little bit better, you'll have more confidence to go past the line. The self-critic and self-sabotage is a total liar. They don't want you going past this line. I'll tell you, my self-critic and my self-sabotager does not want me going anywhere except where I am right now. Still to this day, the ones that, because what ends up happening is you go past that line, what you'll find is that you'll find that there's a new line to go over here, and you'll have some of those same questions come up again. Because let me finish with this last part of part 5, which is this. A lot of people believe the more you know, the more you grow. But the more you know and the more you grow does not apply to confidence. See, the stuff that you never did before that now are confident things in your life was the comfort zone, and you had to overcome the self-critic and self-sabotage, or sometimes not even at your own will. Sometimes that you had to do it just because you had to do it. So now that the place that has become your comfort zone used to be the place that you were afraid of at one point, now it's the place where you're confident. But we're unconfident over here, and we think that if I watch one more hour of training, then I'm suddenly going to be confident. I'm going to watch one more video. I'm going to read one more book. I'm going to do some more idea generation. I'm going to work on my grammar. I'm going to get somebody to help me with something like that, and I'm going to distract myself. But here's the thing, is that your confidence is not going to come until you start. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to start. You got to kill the inner critic. You got to kill the self-sabotager. And the only way that you can silence them is that if you just step past the chicken line and you do it. Experience is the greater teacher. It's not learning, and it's not reading, and it's not classroom or whatever. Listen, if classrooms for coaches we're going to make confident coaches, everybody would be doing it and everybody would be killing it. You would have already done it. That's not your problem. Your problem is that you're your own worst enemy in some kinds of ways. And I'm trying to prepare you. Some of you are already having that wrestling match. Some of you are already fighting that person right now, and you can beat them. But the only way that you beat them is taking action. It's not doing more acts of procrastination in your life. It's not doing more training, because that is not what's going to appease them, because they can't be appeased. Listen, the inner critic and the self-sabotager cannot be negotiated with. They cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be talked into anything, because they're not going to play nice with you any day of the week. They're not going to be schmoozed into anything. And they're not going to say, well, they're not going to negotiate anything out. All they want is what they want, which is to keep you exactly where you're at. And action's the only way that you can actually defeat them. And what I would say, not just action, but consistent action in your life. And not just any old action, because some of you are doing action that's not bringing results in your life. Consistent action that is showing that you've made a clear, irrevocable choice to not go back to where you were in your life before. Let me pay the bills, and I want to talk to some people who are on here. For those of you who have not gotten trained and certified as a coach, or let me say this, some of you have gotten trained and certified as a coach somewhere else, because we have a lot of you who come into our program. Some of you are watching this and you already spent a bunch of money somewhere else and got trained and certified, and you're not doing anything. This is the kick in the butt for you today as well, that you've got to take some steps. Now, here's the thing about our Jumpstart program. It does include training and certification. It includes Tuesday night training that's live and everything else. But what we do is that we take you by the hand and give you the A to Z business development steps, so you can start from scratch, you can start from nothing, and you can get launched in about 90 days. And you don't have to do this thing alone. And that's what the whole point is. Jumpstart, as you see, these are all of the different components that you see that are included here. life coach training, life coach certification, credential, social media integration, and ID lookup. That's a long way of saying we host your credential and you get a unique credential ID. You get a lifecoachmatch.com listing on our directory. You get a live online weekend boot camp. You get coaching role playing. You get brand camp for coaches. You get any specialty workshops that we do. You get the Jumpstart program. You get the coaching community and weekly group coaching calls. But let me just spell these things out for you really quick. For those of you who have not finished your certification yet, Tuesday nights, what we've done is we've added a live component to our self-paced program. Now, our self-paced program, and I would still say that 90-something% of our coaches already just spend their time in that. They just, it's self-directed. You create your own hours, and you can enroll immediately. When you enroll in Jumpstart, you get immediate access to this program. You can go through it self-paced, but what did we want to do? We wanted to make it better. So Tuesday nights, what we do is that we go through every one of these sessions that are part of the self-paced training, and it's also the material that we cover in boot camp. Tomorrow is the start of a new cohort. And so you can start any of these weeks like they're rolling sessions. So that if you start in session 3, then you'll get session 4 the next week. We'll work our way back to session 1. But what we do in these, I want you to connect with other coaches. I understand how important it is to be connected to other people who are going after the same kinds of things. So on Tuesday nights, you can connect with other coaches who are getting trained and certified in that program. You can actually work together on some of your assignments that you need to knock out. But we have that, but we also have live Q&As at the end of each one of those sessions. So 5 to 7 p.m., I give you each one of these sessions each week, and you can ask any questions that you have of me. And you can also connect with other coaches so that you have some accountability, but you can also work with them to help you get through your assignments. Also, again, all of these modules are available self-paced, so you can work on this on your own, or you can just immerse yourself a little bit more in the training if I talk too fast on a Tuesday night. You also get access to boot camp. Our next one's in May. Basically, it's the exact same material, but we cover it over a Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and again, that's coming up in May. When you enroll in Jumpstart, it's $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. So again, all of that we talked about in training and certification, it's included. Boot camp, it is included. You also get brand camp. For those of you who don't understand anything about branding, web design, any of that stuff, basically what we do is that we take you by the hand and we show you how to discover your niche, how to discover your target market, how to create messaging for them, a step-by-step. And so we walk through everything, how to develop your website, how to optimize it for search engines. That component alone is worth thousands of dollars because we show people how to get their website to show up on page 1 of Google, or at least pretty close if it's not on there. Show you how to write a sales page. We show you how to write emails. There's nothing that we don't that we leave out in any of this branding messaging component because it's super important. We also have a course that we launched last year called the Coaching Product Launch Blueprint. And basically what we do is that we bring you from zero and bring you through idea generation, brainstorming, either your coaching practice launch or any product. And we show you how to, whether you're going to be a traditional coach or a online coach, or you're going to be both or whatever, what we do is that we show you from the very beginning. We help you think about your life in the past. What's the victory? What is the victories that you've had in your life? What's the knowledge and the wisdom and the skills? All of these things that have been untapped in you, to process this in one place for the first time and to think about, how does this connect me with my ideal client? And what product could I actually create? Or what messaging? What should I be wrapping my coaching practice around? We take you by the hand. It's 8 sessions that we take you by the hand, and we bring you from brainstorming to product idea to website development to social media posts. We show you how to do funnels and your 14-day product launch sequence. All of this is included. The link's inside the description. You get live weekly group calls, because not only do you get me on Tuesdays live in your training for life coach certification, Wednesdays, we do a group call. We always celebrate wins. The people who are in that community are phenomenal, brilliant people who are very supportive. And we give you feedback on anything that you're working on, your website design, if you worked with a client and you recorded it and you wanted us to listen to it or whatever and give some feedback. We do all of that in terms of feedback. Again, you don't have to do this thing alone. We're trying to give you, we're not just some online school or internet school. We're not a computer school. Like I heard some guy say one time, are you guys just a computer school? No, we're not a computer school. We just happen to be online and we're able to slash a lot of those prices because we're not dealing with brick and mortar. And we're also bringing it into a group setting so you can connect with other people and also bring the price point down. So the people who are part of this program are brilliant and phenomenal. They support one another. They're big fans. They can help you as you're, you know what they'll do is when they're launching new products, people will go out and they'll do A and B testing for people and everything else. But we cover literally everything. The Jumpstart program covers literally A to Z. Selling, how to sell yourself, how to write a 1-minute pitch. We literally have thought through everything and it's all included. But it needs you to click on that link and to get enrolled and to come and join us. I don't know what else you're waiting for. For those of you who have gotten trained and certified in another program, you know this is a steal because you've already spent thousands somewhere else getting trained and certified. So let us help you. What do you got to lose? It's another thing that I'll talk about next week is that, hey, you know what? I needed some help in the very beginning. I needed some people to walk with. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about in that. Walk with some people who have been successful at this and work with some people who are maybe on the same page or just even a few months ahead of you who can walk alongside you, hold you accountable, and give you feedback so that you're not making mistakes like I made when I started out as a coach. Let me say hello to a few people who are in there. Sean and Dina say, interested in Jumpstart, how long is it? Well, we require a minimum 90-day commitment. And you can cancel anytime after that. Now, Jumpstart, again, includes training and certification. So what we always tell our coaches, knock that part out first, and then let's jump in and start working on your business. But for me, it's reasonable to say that people can get their coaching practice up and going in 90 days. But keep us for as long as you need us. I mean, the reality is that the price point is so low, it usually makes a lot of sense for coaches to give it a little bit more time to just be with us rather than just kind of like being out there. But again, only keep us for as long as you need us, but minimum 90-day commitment because we want to see you be successful. Who else do I need to say hello to? Oh, thank you, Tasha. So glad that it was helpful. And Tasha also says, love the transparency. Hey, Sierra, good to see you. Oh, and Tasha's joining us from Connecticut. Very good. And there's Bill joining us from Texas. Awesome. Anybody else that wants to say hello before we head out, or any questions or comments before we head out for the day? I don't see name. I see Facebook user. I had to set a deadline and tell people. Good job. As always, Paul giving great info. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I am going to assume that that's everyone who wanted to say hello and chime in and all of those things. Let me just look really quick. Oh, yeah, that's it. Oh, and there's Angie. Hey, how's it going, Angie? All right. Well, listen, everybody. I appreciate you guys all immensely. See, this is why I had to shorten it because look how long we've been on. So we did 5 this week. We'll do the other 5 next week. Hopefully this was really helpful for you guys. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Thanks for spending some time with me tonight. If you came in late, you can always watch it on the replay, which is actually available inside of this link. You can literally just pull it back and rewatch it. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care.